Welcome to Blender VT, and this is a Blender video tutorial on some advanced vital functions in Blender version 2.34, more specifically appending. This tutorial contains some more advanced information. It's nothing so advanced that if you have just watched the vital functions tutorial, your head will explode or at least suffer from extreme confusion trauma. This just contains a feature that you might not use for a while. It's called appending. Now remember how I talked about users using Blender files to create large libraries of materials and objects? And remember how I talked about data blocks and how you can link data to materials, meshes, and so on? And have you ever wanted to reuse one of your previous materials or objects in one of your older projects and then import it into your current one? Well, those questions are going to be answered right now. Alright, so let's start with adding a material from a library that someone's provided. And for an example, I'm going to use Sonic's Car Material Library. Great Guide made a really good collection of materials that you could use. And I'm going to do that right now. So I go to File, and then I click on Append. You can also use Shift F1 to do that. So I click on Append, and then here you have your familiar interface for loading files. And I'm going to go to the drive where that is located, the directory, and so okay, here we go. Here's the library. So you can see how they're white. That means it's a Blender file that you can open. You can see that one's not white right now, even though it is a Blender file. Well, that's just because that's the project I have open right now. So these white ones are ones that you can get into. So when I click on this and go into it, you can see that now it just brought up kind of like another directory. I'm actually browsing inside of this file. Alright, so I want to add a material. Click on Material, and then here we have a whole bunch of materials for us to choose from. So let's say I want to choose Best Car Paint Job. Best Car Ramp. Oh, let's do the ramp. So I click on that, press Enter to select, or I press the middle mouse button. That works too. Okay, so now that material and all of its textures and things that it is linked to have now just been imported into my Blender file, and you can see that because now I have Best Car Paint Job ramp that I can now select. Now let's create an object. Shift A is a shortcut to open up the toolbar and bring you to the Add dialog box. Mesh, let's do the monkey. We love the monkey. Alright, I'm just going to move him out of the way, and I am going to, for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to make him smooth. If you know what I'm doing, if you didn't know what I just did, watch the rest of the tutorials. Okay, I just took a low polygon model and then make it look really smooth. Okay, so I'm now going to take this object and then assign it to the material I just imported. So I have the object selected, and then I went to the material context, or the shading context and material subcontext, and excuse me, been talking for a while. All right, Best Car Paint Job. We click on that, and there we have our car paint job. So when I press F12 to render this, you can see now it has that particular paint job applied to that model. So that's how we can do that. Now let's say I want to add one of my previous meshes into this file. So I'm going to go to File, Append, and I'm going to back out of that Blender file. And let's see, here we go. Here's one of my previous projects. I'm going to go to Mesh, and then let's do Mouse. I did a project where I did some product design, and I decided to make a mouse, and I like the way it turned out. So I'm going to import this into this file, and you can see that it hasn't appeared yet anywhere. Well, here's why. If you go to the window type and you click on the OOPS schematic, which stands for object-oriented, I don't know what the PS stands for. I have not been able to find it anywhere, but it means object-oriented. Okay, then you have something really scary pop up. Okay, and one thing I've noticed is that when you import a new mesh, it doesn't seem to update. Actually hasn't updated at all. Probably just because I haven't. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's probably because it's not in the same layer. That would actually make sense. I am going to try something. because I'm just curious. This is something new that I just found out today. Whatever. Okay, well I just have to click on this to get to show up. That's the scene button, by the way. Okay, so we have this open, and then you can see we have mouse, and then it just included all of its friends into it. All the textures it's associated with, the materials, all that stuff. Alright, and just so you know what this is, let's talk a little bit about the data structures in Blender. Blender uses the object-oriented paradigm, so if you want to explore the data structures that constitute your scene model, you can use the OOP schematic. So anyway, so this is just a view. It's actually not an editor. This is just a very, very technical view on the associations between different data blocks in your file. So like here you can see we have scene, and then we have Suzanne, which is the monkey model. Then you can see how that is, well, that's the object, and it's associated to the actual mesh, and then that is associated to material. So we can see up here, which is best car paint job. Okay. Well, and you can also move stuff around by the same way you move objects around, just by selecting it with the right mouse button and press G. So also some other cool functions, like if you press L on a currently selected object, it will then select all the ones that are linked to it. And if you press it again, it'll select all the ones that are linked to that one. Then again, the ones that are linked to that one. Like if you do the mouse, you could really see it just kind of flow out. So, and then from there you can move it. So we'll move that over there. Okay, so but now you can see it's not selected to anything. So let's go back to our 3D view. And let's say I want the mouse to take the place of that object right there. Now remember, there's a difference between an object and a mesh. The object is just this point in space, as you can tell by that little dot right there. It's just a point in space. And then when I go to my editing context, now you can see cube is the name of the object, and this is the data block. And if I select that menu, you can see I have mouse. So I click on that, and then you can see it's disappeared. The only way I've been able to figure out how to update the scene is by pressing F12 and rendering it. Then it looks at everything and is like, ooh, there's an object here. So while it takes its time to figure out oh, there we go. Okay, so there we have a really bad section of the mouse. So let's go change that. But now you can see that the mouse is now in the scene. So now I can say, okay, well here's my mouse. I'm going to select it, and I want, let's say, this particular material to be, which is that blue, I want it to be that yellow paint job color. So I'm going to click on that data block, and then click on best car paint job. And then when I render the scene, you'll see that instead of being blue, it will now be that yellow color in a few moments. So anyways, so that's how you take objects out of libraries and append them. Ah, there we go. We now have a yellow mouse. So horrible lighting, but you get the idea. So let's go back to our OOP schematic. Alright, so now you see how the mouse mesh is now connected to the cube object, and that goes back to the scene. So now you can see that now it's finally selected because we assigned it to that particular object. Wow. So there you go. So now you just understood a little bit more about how data blocks work, how you can actually view them, and how you can take objects, materials. Oh heck, look at this. You can append anything. Like here's a project I can append to cameras, curves that I have, different images. Like here's the rotoscope images that I used. I could append that into the project if I wanted to. So, and you can there's just so much that you can do with that append tool to just save you a lot of time. So it's a really nice function. I suggest you use it. So have fun, be productive, reuse your old material, and continue to learn more about how to use some of the more advanced functions in Blender.